Hello and welcome to the next episode of Run Till You're Done. This week we have got a very special guest and one that I've been really excited to speak to since joining Mike onto the podcast. I've found it really hard to write an introduction for this guest because she's got so many achievements behind her. She competes in her age group for Great Britain in dualathons, podiums many events she enters, coaches at various clubs, such as Epic Trails, the Westies and Glasgow Tri Club, as well as coaching individuals like myself. And she has just finished race directing the Mulgai Trail event. And she does all of this on top of working full-time and being a mum. So I can't wait to hear how she fits it all in. Welcome to the show, Nic Dawson.
Oh, thank you. And it's Sunday, so you can call me Nicola if you want to. It's only my Sunday name.
So usually what we would do is ask the first guest how they got into running, but you've got such an athletic background. I think we'll start with how did you get into fitness in general?
I think I've always just been one of those children that was just sporty. I grew up in Ayr, so most places getting about was just on a bike, as you did in those days. So it was just, cycling wherever you wanted to go. And tennis was actually the main thing that I played. I've played tennis since I was 7. So all my summers were spent at the tennis club, cycling to them, playing tennis all day, then cycling back. But then I also wanted to do judo, so I did that. Signed up for athletics, did that. Anything that was a bit sporty, I'd do. Would just have a shot. That was just, I think it's just part of life, and that's, I think that's still the way it is still, that I just like to do sports, and any bit of fitness I can, I'll do it.
So were your mum and dad particularly sporty and your siblings, or were you just a very active child?
It's just me. So it was just, my mum wasn't. She would occasionally go to a fitness class, but it's my dad's predominantly where he came. He's always been sporty. So he played football to high level as a youngster. Then I remember seeing him playing cricket and then curling. And he was still curling into his 80s. He's 98 now. But in his 80s, he still went along with, and they have little add-on things for curling sticks and things, so you don't have to bend down. And he was still going curl until really he couldn't no anymore. But even now, he still does laps of the care home that he's in on his Zimmer. It has to keep active. So I am basically just my dad.
And pointing it back to podcast about running. So how did you get into running?
Running, I remember I must have been about 12, and there was a race. It was an Ayrshire one, and it was a schools one, and it was a 1.5 mile run in Colwinning. And of course, I put my name down to do it. And I remember going out practicing running. In the old days pre-Strava, I'm going to sound like dead old. You had to get your mum or dad to drive the car around the block to work out how far it was. So I knew it was 1.5 miles. And I remember going out practicing around the block and nearly dying. And then I did that race. And I probably still got the medal upstairs. I was not first, anything like that, but I did that one. And I think that was probably kind of the first event. Then I did a bit of running with Ayr Seaforth. I always wanted to do distance. I am not a sprinter, but they would only let you had to do the sprinting events first before you get into distance. I just failed miserably at that. So I didn't really get to the distance events because I still don't give me 100 meters. There's just no point for it. But then I got into schools and it was cross country. So the good old school cross countries, wearing the little vest and the gym knickers that you had to wear, running the Ayrshire sand dunes in February with Baltic, west coast of Scotland, breeze coming off the sea. It was delightful. But somehow I still run. I don't quite know why, but I think that kind of set you up, really. Yeah, and then went into Troon Tortoises before I went to uni. I started running with Troon Tortoises.
So is that not the standard Troon Tortoises get up, the sport knickers and?
No.
Thankfully, probably.
Yeah, so that was the younger days of getting into running, and then I did my first half marathon at 17, and then I did London at 21. It's the first marathon.
At 21?
Yeah, 21. I just decided to go into London. Did it again at 23.
So was it still a ballot? Has it always been a ballot,
Yeah.
London Marathon? And is that how you got your place? Did you get it through the
Yeah.
ballot?
Oh no, I think for 1 year I did it for charity. I think that's the first year. My dad still got that picture in his care home of me looking very shocked youngster with like this kind of London Marathon official picture that they sent you out, because it wasn't, you couldn't download it, you picked it and then they sent it to you. Yeah, that was the first one I did. That was a shock. I've still got those medals too. And then, yeah, 23. And then did it do it for another 20 years afterwards? I left a bit of gap between it.
So you do, I know, because I know you personally, you do lots of different types of running, and I know you're a very keen hill runner as well. Is that one of your favourite types, or do you just love all types of running?
I don't like road. Road's a necessary evil, I think, sometimes. It's good for when I'm trying to do training. Like, I'll do road running for like intervals, things like that, because it's the best way to try and get some of the training done. And I'll do it quite often if I'm away with work when I travel, because I don't know lots of places, so the road's the easiest bit. But if I can, I will always try and get out onto the trails. It's just, as I say, it's like my natural habitat, just found playing around in mud. And I think it's lots of time, my early years were all spent in the countryside. So I love nothing more than running around the hills, talking to probably the sheep or the cows or whatever animals there that will listen to me. But that's my kind of preferred running, is definitely the trails. And I think it helps living in Mulgai that we're straight onto the West Highland Way. So there's just so many trails round about. Yeah, I got into hill running a few years ago. Friends were like, come and try it, run with Westies. I was like, no. Eventually came along, I'm like, this is just what I'm doing anyway. But I've worked out that I don't like running uphill that much, but I do love running downhill. So it's that necessary evil. I've got to go up so I can come back down again. But I do like my downhills.
Have you got any tricks to running downhill?
I think it's just no fear. Because as soon as you put fear into it, you put the brakes on. So I'm like running your very much, unless it's like ski, I'm always like running your toes shorter. Well, again, depends on the elevation of the slope or the incline. But I'm usually just running more my toes, arms flailing, just leaning forwards into it. Let the arms go. They'll help you down, just like gravity do its thing. It's only if it's really scree where I'll probably maybe lean back a bit more and dig the heels in to get a bit more of a grip. But the problem is, if you put the brakes on, that's when you're going to injure your knees or you're going to fall over. And I did see a great one of that in Lakeland 50. It's a cracking downhill. I just went for it. The amount of guys I saw that just put the brakes on and then just went like that under and just slid down in this mud. No brakes, just believe and just go with it. It'll work.
I think sometimes sliding on your bum's fastest anyway, is it not?
And I have done that many a time off the back of Dumgoyne Hill. For those that know, the path's getting more and more worn away, and especially if it's snowy or anything up there, I do now just sit on it and just slide my way down, because it is the quickest, easiest way down it.
And Nikki said that you did, I think it was duathons that she said. I think that you probably did duathlons.
Yeah.
What sports did that involve?
So that is running and biking. So it's run, bike, run. I am not a swimmer. I will never say I'm a swimmer. I will do triathlons, but the swimming is the worst element of it. So if I've got a chance to do a duathlon, I will much prefer to do that. I got into those a few years ago. Well, I started off getting into triathlon. I was already at the club, and then my eldest, she's a swimmer. She's a fish. And I was helping out at one of the triathlon events, and it was an aquathon, and Emily went and did it. She swam amazingly, went and ran. Mummy, why don't you give it a shot? Do I really have to? So yeah, the first time I was last out of the pool, but then the good thing is I can make it up on the run. And then I was like, right, that's not going to happen again. And I'm not saying I can't swim. I can swim quite happily, just not putting my head under and breathing. So I went to swim lessons with Glasgow Tri Club, and just basically just taught me to breathe. So now I can swim. I will never be fast. My aim is not to be last, which I'm usually not now in the swims. But the good thing about it is that I like to bike and I like to run. So I can then start picking people off on the bike and then more on the run, which really helps. But if I can, as I said, duathlon is much better. So if you do a sprint, that is approximately, just depends on the event, it'll be a 5K run, about 20K bike, and then a 2.5K run. And then you've got standard, which is 10K run, about 40K bike, and then 5K run. They're the main distances that you would do with them.
So would you say that you've got equal strengths on the bike and the running, or would you say you're stronger in one, what I'm trying to say is more stronger on a bike or the run?
Definitely the run.
Mm-hmm.
The run is where I'm strongest at, so I'll always make sure I'm holding my own. I know there's some very good cyclists out there. I think it does help having a very nice bike. I'm still trying to get someone to nicely buy me a bike that's really expensive, but I've not managed to get one. If anyone wants to give me a bike, I'll happily accept it. Yeah, you could. I think with cycling, you can spend a lot of money on lots of bikes to help with the speed as well. I've done a lot of work this year, just especially for winter with Zwift. It's good for running, it helps, and I use bike a lot as cross training, especially if injured. The bike is really good to take the impact out, especially if your knees, if you've got any leg issues, I'll take it out and do it on the bike. So bike has got stronger, but definitely run is the strongest one that I've got.
And that's where you find you'll pick people off then once you jump off the bike, and you'll probably catch up with people then at that point.
Yeah, the aim thing for me is take a lead on the run. Know people probably pass me on the bike. Try not to let too many pass me, and then back on the run and try claim them back again.
And you're being good enough to be selected for GB. Where's that taking you?
It was I got selected a couple of years ago. I didn't been selected a few times now. I didn't go this year just because I had Cape Wrath coming up. I went last year and had been the year before. So went and did the sprint in Bilbao. The good thing of this with is European champs I got selected for, the ones I qualified in. You can get to go see different places that you probably wouldn't have gone to. So it's really nice that way. First year I went, I was going, oh my goodness, what is this all about? It was the whole kind of fear factor, monkey on shoulder, you're going to come last, look at all these amazing athletes. What are you doing here? But I actually held my own and I came in 7th. So I was really happy with that in the first year that I tried it. And that was a sprint. And then I went back, last year I went to Coimbra. Again, I think that's Portugal, another nice place. And did the standard. And again, I seem to finish 7th. Seems to be in a natural place. Don't know. So I've now got my spot. I've qualified again for next year in the sprint. So I'm going to possibly try qualify for standard as well and go and do both.
And is that like running? There's set events that will have qualifiers on it?
Yeah, so they've got certain events across the kind of race calendar. There's 3 for each category, for each distance, and then for each if it's triathlon or duathlon, and if it's Europeans or worlds. So you've just got to pick your qualifiers and then go to them. Only issue being Scottish is there's hardly any of them up here. It's the only problem.
Mike, do you have any more questions on that subject before we move on back onto the running?
Get on to the important part. Forget about the cycling.
So the meaty section of the interview, you mentioned there Cape Wrath, that you had entered it and you took part in it last week. So it's been quite the adventure that you've had, even from signing up to the events that unfolded last week. So what made you want to take on such a massive event? That's
a really good question. I think just sheer stupidity. How many years looking at this race going, why would people ever do that? What is this all about? I think it's probably the year that I signed up for the flying. Threw up all the way back down the side of Loch Lomond and said I was never doing it again. And that didn't last. So I think I've done West Highland Way race, and then I was looking for the next challenge. And last year, I knew people that did it last year. I was like, well, they can do it, I can do it. So I decided, I was like, right, I checked first of all. The main thing was with hubby and granny to go, right, am I allowed to go? And granny, can you look after the kids when I do go? So I got family sign off first of all. And also just so they knew I was going to have to actually train for this. And then that was it. It was just a long time just getting the training done for it. Because I was like, I don't really know. Although I'm a run coach, I'm like, how do you train for a multi-day event? What do you actually do? Which was a lot harder than just doing single days. And it was just very much focusing on, I suppose, increasing the miles. So I'm getting used to running on tired legs and then just slowly building the mileage up each week and making sure I'm getting the elevation, because there's a lot of elevation in it. I think it's about 12,000 meters overall. And then you've got 400 kilometers the full distance. So that was just trying to even get there without being injured. That was also my worry of like, I do not want to break myself at any point getting to that position. Did have a slight niggle a few weeks before when I was doing the Stuck a Crown race, where I seemed to have pulled my glutes muscle, but a wee bit of physio to kind of fix that, and that was actually totally fine for the whole thing. So that was kind of getting to the race. So the race itself, I suppose, I spent a lot the week before faffing. How much faff can you possibly do with kits lying everywhere, playroom floor covered, checklists, because there's a lot of mandatory kit you've got to take with you. You've got hot stuff for hot weather, stuff for cold weather, just the general mandatory things, your camp clothing. You've got the bag that you must use is their bag, and you're only allowed 20 kilos in it. So what's the weather? How many times can you check the weather forecast? Do I want t-shirts? Do I want shorts? Do I want long sleeve? How many t-shirts do I even want? Am I just going to be smelly? Well, as well, you're not going to get a shower. That was an option a few days. And then what food you take for 8 days, because they'll provide your camp food, so food in camp, but then you've got to work out what you want to eat for each of the 8 days and take that with you. So again, it was looking at that, going, well, how long, what's the distance each day? How long am I going to be out for? What does that look like food-wise? What am I going to be thinking I want by that time? What will last? So I couldn't make a whole lot of sandwiches, because by day 5 or 6, they're probably nice and moldy. That was quite a lot of the planning that went into it beforehand. So yeah, a lot of time spent on my spare in the playroom floor, just covered in stuff until I actually got it sorted. And then what we did was we went up to Fort Williams, that's where the start is, on the Saturday. So you got up there, you get your bag checked and weighed. Came in at 15.5 kilos. I'm like, I think I could actually have sold a kilo to each person for like a tenner. People would have paid for it because they were over.
Did the bag have, was there a minimum or a maximum weight that you had to carry?
Maximum 20 kilos in the bag that they take. So it's not in your running bag, but in the bag that goes to camp each day. So you have this massive bag that you fill with all of your, your clothes, your food, everything for the week. And they take that to camp and they move that each day for you. So that's the bag that had to start off with as under 20. So they weigh it, they do your mandatory kit check, you'll get your picture taken, the one that's using the tracker, and then they do the big race briefing on that Saturday. You get your little wristband and everything like that. And then Sunday is D-Day, where they take you down to, you start again in Fort William. There's 2 starts, there's 11 o'clock and a 12 o'clock. I was not paying any attention when I was doing my race entries to pick a time. So I think all the keen, eager people go for 11, whatever. I ended up at 12. So put into the 12 o'clock one. So you get your tracker. Basically, you wave goodbye to your family, which was husband and the youngest. Youngest didn't actually get out the van. She's like, see you later. Can we go to McDonald's now? I think that was kind of the question, or when can I get my second breakfast? And then on the ferry over, this little ferry that goes over, and then they'll give you get tea, coffee, biscuits, and then it's start of day 1. So yeah, that day 1. So that was running from that bay there all the way over to Glenfinnan. So Glenfinnan Viaduct. So they send you kind of down and across and up. Don't ask me names and locations because I'm pretty useless at that. But
Was
weather was
day
hot.
shortest day out of the whole 8 days?
No, I think the last day is the shortest day.
Right.
Day one was, I can tell you that much. Hang on 1 second and I will tell you what day one, because I was looking at it earlier. I'm going to have to look at Strava though to find it.
While you're searching, did you have a minimum calories that you had to carry each day?
No.
So it's just
No, there wasn't.
what you thought was suitable.
Yeah. They just quite often they would check in the morning, like whatever they had decided was a random kit check. They might say, let's see your food, let's see this, let's see that. But no, there was no maximum or minimum that you had to have. The only one was in relation to water. You had to make sure you had food on you, but water was the main one. So standard you had to carry 1.5 litres. But then hot weather, they made you up that to 2.5 litres. And then because of the weather that we had, they upped it to that level of 2.5. But what I opted for was 3 each day, simply because once you're out, they don't give you water. It's down to you to find water. And because it's been so dry, the streams were really dry, so you're not getting the amount of fresh running water that you would usually get. So I prefer just to take more and then work that down and then fill up, rather than some people that, I think some were knocking out with the 2.5 litres. Definitely not. And they were just having to find streams continually to fill up. I was like, I don't want that hassle. I just want to know that I've got clean water and I'll last for as long as possible.
Did you take something to clean the water, or were you relying on most hill water in Scotland? I would drink it. Probably not advisable to anybody else, but
I would, well, my water that I took with me with 3 litres was always from camp, so you always knew that was fresh water, so that was fine. But I did take tabs with me to clean the water if I did have to use it. Saying that, when I did, I actually didn't use them because I looked at the water. I'm like, actually, you're running free. I'm totally happy with you. There might have been occasions if you had been caught really short, going, right, this is the best that it is, I will put tabs in. But I was okay with what I chose, the water. But there was some bits you're going, there should be water running through here, and there's absolutely nothing. It was really, really dry.
I didn't even realise you could get tabs to sterilise. Something I would never think of. Like, I know you can get these special bottles with straws, with filters and things like that, but that's a really good idea. I didn't realise you could get that.
Yeah, I think they've had problems. I think it depends where it is, because you never know if there's a dead sheep further up, or if it's near a bothy, then people have been staying in it. What else is in that water area? So it's just looking around and being a bit more cautious with what it is and where it is. But to me, I was like, no, the bits I got it, there was no livestock anywhere. There was nothing. It was just a nice fast flowing stream. Like, that'll do me.
Just as well, before we move on to the actual event going through it, there's 8 days, and I would imagine you've looked at each day distance wise and things. Did you do any sort of simulations, like, right, I'm going to run this distance on one day, and then I'm going to do a really long distance the next day, and then I'm going to cut it shorter? Was there anything in your plan like that at all, to kind of simulate, as you're saying, the tired legs and things?
Not so much specifically the same as what was in the race, but what I would quite often do is say like a long run on a Saturday, and then I go up a hill on the Sunday.
Right.
So again, it's another day, it's more elevation, it's just tired legs, rather than going, right, well, this day's 30, this day's 50, right, I'll do those. I was more going, right, let's just get out, just get the tired legs, get the elevation in. Just kind of keep trying to simulate as much as possible.
Before the race, did you get a chance to recce anything?
No, probably would have been a good idea now I've thought about it. But just unfortunately, it's the logistics of going up to Fort William. You're nearly 3 hours. Then even getting onto probably decent bits of the trail, you're probably another hour. You're talking about a full weekend, and I think I would probably have been killed if I'd actually asked to vanish for a full weekend to go playing in the hills. So that was not going to happen. Yeah, bits in the West Highland Way, a lot spent up the Campsies, up the Kilpatricks, and quite a few hill races as well that I did to try and kind of do as much simulation as I could without actually going on the route. I did do an awful lot on my turbo with YouTube. So I sat and pedal a bike and watched some really good YouTube videos of people running the Cape Wrath. So there's quite a lot of them up there. So I would pretend I was there and watch those to try to kind of get an idea of what it was like.
And as you say, like using the tugboat, that's a really good idea as well, you know, for all three of us are parents, like trying to fit any sort of training in for anything a lot of the time, I think is quite hard for a lot of people, like with childcare and what have you. So I think the tugboat, it just takes a bit of stress off that you can jump on it for however long and you are still there.
Yeah, it definitely helps for the kids for that. And for me, a lot of the juggling goes round going out early in the morning so that I'm back in time for then doing any activities. Or, so say I've got one that's a swimmer. Quite often we can be at swimming competitions all weekend. And for anyone that knows swim meets, you spend 8 hours at a pool. You watch them swim for about 30 seconds. Then you've got about 4 hours wait. Then you watch them swim for a minute. Then you've got another hour wait. So what I would often do is go, right, I've watched your swim, I'll be back, and then vanish out for a run and then come back and do the supportive parenting. And I juggled quite a lot of runs around whichever random place I was in a swim competition.
It's a great way to utilise your time as well. That's a really good time management tip as well.
It's the only way to do it. I'm like, if you're trying to juggle it, see if you only have half an hour is better than nothing. Just go, you can use it. And if I had half an hour, I'll go, right, intervals, let's get some speed sessions done. That's a productive way to use that time.
Definitely. So going back to your day one.
Right, now I found it. Day one, I have got via my watch, which is I have a Chorus one. And Strava, it says 34.56 kilometers and 785 meters elevation. So it started off, that one's quite nice. Well, it starts off about 10k on road, so slightly different. And then you head onto a track, kind of trail, and then there's one particular, it's kind of a long gradual climb, and then one hill in it, one main hill in it, and then you're down the other side, and then all the way into Glenfinnan. I was running with Emma McCahill. She finished actually third in Cape Wrath. Emma and I are both Westies, and we ended up we started together and we just ran together. The whole time going, I think we're running a bit fast, but we feel fine. Then we go, right, we should walk this bit. Let's walk this bit. Should we walk this bit? And then we started catching up with some of the people from the 11 o'clocks as well. So we started passing some of those. But again, we didn't know how we were doing. We just ran because it's just the way it felt. So we're going up the big hill. I was starting to feel it's just too hot. I don't do heat. And Emma, you could tell, I was like, Emma, just crack on. Away you go. So she kind of went on ahead of me at that point. So just, yeah, it was too warm, as we were both going, it's just too warm. We did get to see an adder that day on the trail. And I always hear about adders, and I've never actually seen one. And there was massive adder curled up in the middle of the trail sunbathing. You know, I'm going, there's an adder, that was an adder. Oh, I should have got a picture, but I wasn't going back. Never got my picture of that one. Yeah, so straight into Glenfinnan. It was lovely. It took just under 4 hours. And the viaduct was right behind into the stream for a wash, because that was the only washing facilities. And then just started getting sorted. So that was the first day in camp. So it's like, well, where's my camp? Where's my tents? So you've each allocated a tent. Each tent sleeps 8, and it's like 4 pods of 2. There was a runner missing in my tent, and just the way it worked out, I ended up getting a wee pod myself. Wasn't complaining. So they put your big bag in your tent, and so to me it was very much race admin when you get in, and it was the same for every day. I would just get in, take like my shoes, you couldn't take them into your tent, had to be left outside, take my shoes, my bag off, go in, throw out my sleeping bag and my roll mat, get them out, find my clothes. As I was pulling out clothes for like putting on, I'd also go, right, well, there's tomorrow's t-shirt, there's tomorrow's this, dirty things straight in. I did actually do quite a lot of the admin, just sorting out at that moment in time before I go get a wash. They did have nice little whirligigs to hang your stinky stuff on to dry it off. So hang your things up, and then it was, I suppose, one of the priorities. Find your cutlery in your bowl, because you had to take that. That was always packed. I worked this out, pack it at the top, especially the cup, to go get the chips. And for anyone that goes in Cape Wrath, know the chips are the best chips you'll ever have ever. So get the bowl of chips, salty chips, and a cup of tea, and then you just basically just kind of kept going round, chips and tea until food came out. And then you get your dinner. It was all vegetarian, which is fine for me because I'm veggie. I think a few people are like, what am I going to do? It's no meat. Totally fine. Food was good. Then what you would do is in the main room, you could charge, they had a big bank of like power packs or things to charge. So you could charge all your devices, like it was like phones and watches and everything lying. And then you could get your race meal. So on the timing, people could, on the timing app, you could leave me messages and you would go and give them the number and then you get this big printout of like nice wee messages. So you'd read that as well and just catch up with anyone. And then you could get to see the medics and like that as well. So that was all done in camp.
So 34k, I think it was, you said.
Yeah.
What had you planned to eat that day, and did you eat it?
Of course not. Daft. I thought I was drinking really well. You know, where you're thinking, I think, especially having a Camelback on, you're never quite sure. I was like, definitely drinking. But then you pulled the water out, you're like, well, no, I wasn't. No, I did have, so I'd taken a few gels, Vim bars, because I do like the Vim bars because they're not sticky like gels, but they're like gels. And I think flapjack, possibly. I might have been it. I like my flapjacks, especially 39p home bargains ones are a bargain. So I did munch, I did eat things because I was good. I did eat, but just not as much as I had put in my wee bag. But I think my thought was, given we don't have like drop bags and I'm not going to pick anything up, it's better to have too much than too little. And then I just roll it on to the next day. But I think the first day it was I didn't drink enough than I thought I had.
So did you learn that lesson on the days after that then, when you seen that?
Yeah.
I thought, right, I'm going to really need to up my hydration for lasting the next few days here.
Yeah, I think the first day didn't really matter as much because it was under 4 hours and I was drinking, but I was like, I know the next days are longer and I know I need to make sure I'm staying hydrated because I could often get a really sore head as well from running in the heat. So I was good. I was using precision hydration tabs as well. So I was putting one of them in my back. Well, actually put 2 of them in my backpack in the bladder. So I always had them on tap, and then I had water in like my soft flask at the front. So it was really just trying to drink between the 2 of them. And eventually, on some of the latter days, I was like every kilometre, just make sure I'm drinking, like a couple of sips every kilometre just to kind of keep the regularity. And even if it was just a couple, I was like, it's still more just getting back into me.
So each day, each morning, is there a set start time that you have to start at, or can you go out when you wake up?
You can go out anytime between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. The really super fast people, they are kind of given times to go out at, as in like you can't go out until after 8 o'clock or something like that. The reason being is that, as I described, camp's amazing, but they've got to move camp. So they don't want the super fast people going out at 7 and getting to camp before camp's even set up. So they've got a bit of a delay for when they go out. And that gives people, obviously, the camp, people time to dismantle camp and then get to the new camp. I predominantly chose to start at 7 o'clock. Day 2, I just wanted it because the forecast said it was going to be really hot and sunny. I don't like hot and sunny. So my thought process was, let's get out as early as possible to avoid as much of the midday sun as I can.
Day 2 was a big day as well, though, was it not?
Day 2 was 56 kilometres. Now they lied to me. At one point, I was like, I saw some people. I was like, right, where's the finish? Just round the corner, about a kilometre to go. And I'm like, heard that old chestnut before. So was not. Kilometre to go. So it was 56 kilometres, and I've got 2,149 metres elevation on that one.
And did that feel like 2,000 metres of elevation that day?
I'm trying to think. For that day when we went out Glenfinnan, you went along and then you went up, and that's the one where I got caught in video. I had this climb and the sun was beating down and I was climbing up, and then all you hear is that drone, that drone noise. Bloody drone above my head. I've got to smile and not look like I'm swearing a lot as I'm like marching on up the hill, and then the cameraman's at the top, because he's always at the top of a hill to look at you. You're like, I'm going to have to smile again. Yeah, that was quite a long up. And then it ended up running with, I think the guy was German. We kept bumping it, like he would catch me in an up and go past me, and then down a flat I'd catch him, and it was like tag team the whole way along. And certain bits where there wasn't the path, you were relying on the GPX to go, we know we're going somewhere that direction, or how are we going to get there? So yeah, it was really nice. It was, I say it was good old campsies. So a bit of bog, a bit of flat across it. Oh, yeah, I quite like day 2. And then the final bit, oh no, we came down. I'm now remembering what day 2 was. It's coming back to me. It was a lovely bit. We came down, we had a beach section along the lovely rocks, and to clamber some of that. And then it was this open bit where the loch went into a little stream, and I didn't see it, and he just shouted deer, and I looked over, and there must have been about 10 to 15 deer just having a wee graze. And then not long after that, Marcus, who won it, came flying past. You're like, bye. And then a massive big aircraft. There was must be a RAF exercise or military exercise. This massive plane came over, but it was like so slow. It was like it's going to fall out the sky. It then came over that part. Yeah, it was quite good. I did quite like day 2, because then it finished off with this lovely, I would say quite like traily running along the edge of the loch as we came in. And that was really, really nice. Although that's the bit I was lied to. Into camp. Although that was the camp with midges, a lot of midges that evening.
And day 2 is where you took the lead, wasn't it? The female
Yeah.
lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, but like looking at the timings, I remember it wasn't by a lot, was it?
No, it wasn't. Between Emma and I, so on day 1, it had finished with, there was Florence in the lead, then it was Emma, and then myself. And then going into day 2, it switched, because Emma and I weren't running together in day 2, and it turned out, just looking at it, there's quite literally a minute in it between Emma and I.
Yeah.
The way day 2 worked out. And again, I wasn't running for place. I was running the way I felt, and I felt comfortable, so I just kind of kept running. And just like, let's just see what happens.
And how did that feel? Like, I take it you got told that night, or you seen it?
Yeah, when you start doing the checks to see, oh, how did it go once everyone's coming in, you're like, I'm like, oh, that's quite nice. I'm like, but oh no, now the pressure's on. You always get that wee feeling of pressure. It's actually quite nice to further down when you've not got that feeling of pressure, because you're like, I'm going to have to try and do something here, and do I want to try and maintain it? What is the possible? But I was like, I'm just going to take each day and see how it comes, and if it's day there, I stay. If I don't, I don't. But I'll just enjoy it while I can, and say I'm currently first.
Being in the lead is Mike's forte. And I always think that I just feel as though I think if that was ever me, that would be too much pressure. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, Emma and I did laugh at it, so we knew it was between the two of us at that point in time.
You're saying about the aircraft. I think, and I could be totally wrong, there's a NATO exercise on that week. So there's like various European countries all doing an exercise, and all around Cape Wrath, there's lots of MOD land. So that was probably what you saw.
Yeah, it was a big plane.
So in camp, is there quite a lot of good like social vibes between you all? Said that you and Emma had a bit of a laugh that there was a minute in it.
Yeah, yeah, it was they were lovely, because a lot of people I did know, and then a lot of people I didn't know. But everyone just got on so well, and just made a lot of new friends that are already going, well, let's try catch up afterwards. Let's go for a run as well. So no, everyone was really nice. And if things weren't going right, they were having a good chat about it. Yeah, it was really nice vibes. And the same in your tents, getting to know the other people in your tent and kind of cheering them on as well, especially when some of them maybe went from the main event, I think got timed out and then stepped down to the Explorer. Then again, you just, oh, what are you doing today? And just having a good chat about it, really.
It'd make a good documentary, I think, unless there's one being made and I'm not aware of it.
There's lots of different ones about it, yeah, but it'd be quite good to do. Make another one from it.
Like a Big Brother kind of scenario.
Oh.
See, when you finish any day and you get back to camp, are you allowed, like, as long as they've got camp set up, you're not too fast, can you eat at any time for their food, and how much can you have? Do they set how much food you're allowed, or eat whatever you want?
You can eat as much as you want. There's always chips. Usually seem to be always chips and soup seem to be the two things you could always get. And then dinner, I think, always gets served from 6 o'clock. So that's when the dinner came out. And it wasn't really, you didn't really get a choice. It was, this is what dinner is. So it would be like, I have to think now. Say like there was a curry with rice, naan bread, and then salad, and then there'd be dessert as well. So it was a good, and then you could go back up as well many times.
And did you have the menu before you got there? No.
What were the desserts? You got to tell us.
The first one was sticky toffee. That was it, just about every night. There was one night, I can't remember what it was. It was chocolate roll and custard, but I was not feeling the love for food that night. And that was off, actually, I can't remember which day it was, but the custard went down really well. And on my final night, they did bring out the apple crumble and ice cream, and that is a favourite. But then they'd also tray bakes as well, so you could go get tray bakes.
I think I would have been happy with any of them.
Yeah.
Yes. So there always was a good selection of cakes.
So day 3, how long was day 3?
Day 3 is what they class as the long day. It's not the longest in terms of distance, but it's the hardest day. So it was 65k or 65.8 and 2,813 meters elevation. On that day, Emma and I we actually set out together. We just stuck together for a very, very long time, just kind of keeping each other going. And we were saying this quite often, going, you're keeping me going, or you're keeping me going. I'm like, oh, and you go ahead. No. And I think we were dragging each other through. It was hot. It was very hot that day. And it was just continually filling up with water where we could. There was a lovely, lovely waterfall that we always get the pictures at. There wasn't really a huge amount of water in it. I do remember that part, going, oh, is that supposed to be that really nice waterfall? But I feel I need to go back and see it. But it was such a hot day. It did luckily cool down later on, and then we got this lovely section again. I really should actually learn the names. It was more towards the end. I'd overtaken Emma on an uphill, and then it was it was a downhill, because she always used to take me on the ups and I would take her on the downs. This downhill, and I just managed to it was a nice downhill for me, and I just kept going for a long way, and it was just nice and undulating. The cloud had come over, and I was at that point the tunes I think came on, because I was like, right, we're now 10 hours in. I think a wee bit of music. That was the first time I've actually put my tunes on. Need a wee bit of music at this point. And then reached the checkpoint, and it was Mountain Rescue was there, and I was like, how far to go? I remember going 16k, and I'm like, my watch was telling me 10. I did have a jokingly swear, because I did swear quite a lot in the race. Luckily, it was not 16, it was only about 10. Then it was like a track, and then it was the final uphill. Now that uphill was absolutely horrendous. I think by that point, you know, that way when you're probably done nearly 11 hours and you're like, another hill into this. But I can see people coming behind me. I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. And then the downhill on day 3, I was like, this is great downhill. And then the downhill wasn't. It was so technical. And then we got into this bit. It was like chicaning all the way down. It wasn't really a track, but there was like the grassy hillside. I was like, I'm just going back to being a hill runner. And I was like, off this trail, and I just went down the hill instead. Got eventually through all of that to the bottom, and he actually then made you do a river crossing. I was like, I kept my feet pretty dry until now. So a full river crossing into camp. But that actually felt good, getting across that into camp with the river crossing, and then going back to the river to get washed, which is quite nice. So, and see, it was the longest day. That took over 11 hours. Was it nearly 12 hours? I think it took. Oh no, not quite 12 hours for that one. So that was a long day, but it felt good. It was a nice one when we came in. It was the sun was shining. It's a nice camp. The midges did love that camp as well. It's another midgy haven for them.
For day 3, then, it's like the longest and the hardest day, they say, and you've already got day 1 and 2 mileage under your belt. How did you have any mental coping strategies when you did you go to a dark place or the pain cave or anything?
I think day 3 was actually the only bit was going up that final uphill, because I just kept feeling like I wanted to be sick. But I think it was just the heat and just exhaustion by that point, and I could see the top of it. I wasn't, but I think that was the only bit. But I quite happily had my tunes on, so they just kind of kept me going. I think that was probably it. And then coming down, you're like, I can see camp. You just given me the hardest blooming downhill to get to camp. So annoying. That way you can see it. It's like doing the West Highland Way, and you can see Kinloch leaving. It's a blooming long way away, but you can see it. You just got to try and get to it. It's a bit like that. So yeah, eventually made it down. That was the hardest bit, I think, on day 3. But quite a lot of it actually started enjoying with it. It wasn't the worst. And I think the main thing with day 3 is, because people say day 3, if you go over day 3, you're fine. So I was like, right, actually, day 3's done. It's not as bad. Yeah. It's done. That's it in the bag.
And you say you had Emma as company as well. Did you have her for long on day 3, or were there quite a lot of long stretches where you were yourself, or were you with people for a lot of it?
A lot of it was Emma and I. I'd probably say about 8 hours at least with Emma. The two of us just kept going. There might be little bits where one of us would go ahead. Like she quite often would go ahead in the uphill, but then she would know that I would catch her in the downhill, and that is just what we said. It's like, you just go, because I'll come and get you.
Yeah.
And that's just the way we worked it, and we just kept going together, which was nice.
And how was your food that day and the hydration?
That was much better. The good thing on day 3 is you go past a shop. They were like, there's a shop, you can get a coffee. Brilliant. So we went past this first wee one, and then there was like another one further on. We're like, we'll stop at that one. Went in, and we're like, it's about dying. We're like, need a Coke. I want a Coke. Not a problem. We've got Fentiman's original Coca-Cola. That is not a can of Coke. I was not impressed at all. Really not impressed at all with that. It did not do the trick. Well, actually, it did. It went down very, very quickly. And then I bought another bottle of water there and filled up the water at that point as well. So I knew I had 3 on me. That was another litre. So that would have brought me up to 4. And then I filled up for the last couple of hours with a stream water. So that was 4.5 litres that I had. So I was like, and I drank all of that. So I was like, I think that's pretty good going for me.
And it was that day the gap had widened, hadn't it, by that point?
It had widened, not ridiculously. So I was sitting at 24:11. Emma was 24:26. So 15 minutes between us. And then Sarah was sitting behind in 24:39. So I had half an hour in Sarah at that point. So I had slightly widened.
And how was your sleep on the first 3 days? How did you manage to sleep in camp?
First one was fine. Then I remember one night I was getting the calves were getting a bit crampy, but I just put my calf sleeves on. So as soon as I put them on, they were okay. Then I had another night where I had sunburn on the backs of my calves. Because you're traveling north the whole time, the sun's in the back of you quite a lot of it. So you don't really, it's not like you feel it as much, but it's not in your face. But I hadn't realised how sunburnt the backs of my legs and my calves had been. So they were like radiating heat. So I had to take my bottoms off just to actually let the heat escape. So that was the only problem. And then I remember the final morning, some guys in the tent must have got up at about 4:30, 5 and were talking. You're like, shut up. Really? No, it's too early. Some people would get up at 5 to get ready. To take them 2 hours to get ready to leave at 7. And I was like, no, not me.
Did you have earplugs or anything like that with you?
I did. I'd managed to acquire them. I travel quite a lot with work, and I'd managed to acquire a pair for these eventualities. So yes, they did eventually go in. I think day 4 I had put them in because we were also near the toilets. And then, as we all know, like Portaloos, that door slam, that's quite annoying as well.
Yeah.
And about your sleep, did you sleeping bag? Was it too hot for it? Did you have a roll mat, or what were you sleeping on?
Yeah, luckily my friend Mary, she's really good. I was like, Mary, I need these things, please. Have you got them? She's like, yes. So I have to buy them. So she gave me a really good roll mat that inflated, and a sleeping bag that went really small as well, just because it had to fit in the kit bag. So it was perfect. I was nice and toasty the whole time. It wasn't too hot, wasn't, apart from the day when my calves were radiating heat. I think I was just right, whereas a lot of people had complained they were really cold.
See, in camp at night as well, how like the days were really, really hot. Did it ever get really, really cold at night?
Well, I would usually, well, saying that I am a cold person. I would put, like trackies on. I would then have like my hoodie, and then often I would go put my jacket on as well. Some people were wearing hats because it did get cold in the evenings.
So you said there, spoiler alert, final day, day 4.
Yeah, day 4, the day it all went wrong. Day four was actually going really well. I felt fantastic. It was like day 3 when I got up and started in the morning. I'd been feeling really quite sick and just not. I think it was already kind of just a bit tired. But day 4 got up, felt amazing. I didn't leave until like 7:20 because I thought, right, it's a shorter day. I'm not going to go out. I don't need to go out as early. It was 34k. Only 1,500 meters elevation. So I'm like, right, it should take me about 6 hours. So let's not bother with 7 o'clock. I think I went extended to like 7:30. So I was like, feeling absolutely amazing.
So before you go on and spoil the story or tell us the story, how were you feeling amazing? What were you doing to recover each day?
I don't actually know what happened in day 4, but as I said, I would usually come in, I would get the camp admin done, I would get my food, I just rest up, do a bit of stretching, just taking it a bit easier. I think a wee bit of stretching definitely did help with it. But just generally, I actually felt quite good. I don't know, it was just a bit weird. I was like, actually, I feel like I can run. I shouldn't be able to run, at that point, probably about 160 km or something like that. But I felt fine. So it was just like another day to go out, plod along. It was started off so along the roads where that was a midday morning. It was, you put the suntan lotion on and then you were black. So it was, along the road, and then started going up the hill, felt amazing. Going up there, and then down to a bit that it's only afterwards I actually realised I'd actually been there before. So you did must have been about 14k, something like that, to the checkpoint, and that's the first cut-off part. It's only now I realised that when I did a Keltman solo triathlon, I actually ran down the hill to that car park and down the road. So it was only afterwards I thought, I've done this bit before. Going up there again, looking behind, taking pictures, videos, everything like that, felt amazing. And then about 18k, I'm like, I've got a wee bit of a pain in my shin. But I was like, it's probably just because I'm going up, still going up. This is the second hill that we've got to go up. Really were two climbs, and then you come to some amazing like watery thing at the top. Again, non-technical term for that. Did look nice. And I was like, right, it's a wee bit sore, but it should ease off. It's probably just the uphills. So once I get to the top, hopefully start getting a bit of flat and it'll ease off. But it didn't. So I got up there, kind of hobbling along, going, right, come on, we've got a nice downhill. Well, let's just say it was not a nice downhill. There was absolutely no path, no track, no nothing, rocky, everything. It was the gnarliest thing possible for a good, I'd probably say 4 or 5k of you've just got to try and make a path across whatever you can, following the GPX line. But the leg was just getting sorer and sorer that anytime I tried to put the weight on it, I was using poles and I was basically just becoming reliant on the poles. I'm like, I can't run. So I knew at this point, looking around, the only option, there's 2 options. One was helicopter, because it's the only way they'd be able to get anyone off from up there. And the second was just have to keep walking. So I just kind of head down, kept plodding. I was saying head down with a few tears, kept plodding. A few people that know came past and they're like, how are you doing? Why am I running next to you? You should not be here. Quite a lot of people were saying this. I should not be overtaking you. Quite a few hugs, and then they keep going. I got to the final little uphill before the downhill, and I'd actually tried to phone Race HQ because I was like, I want someone to come and can someone just come and walk down with me because this is just so sore. But of course, there's no signal. I couldn't get through to anyone. But this lovely runner, well, she was actually doing the Explorer. She caught me up, and she's like, "I'll just walk with you." So she's like, "I'm not in a hurry. I don't have a time." So the two of us just plodded our way very slowly down this hill, and it was a long. You could see camp a long way away, and it was an amazing downhill. For a downhiller, I wanted to run that because that was just like a proper whee all the way down, which didn't happen, and I just had to very slowly hobble my way all the way back into camp, and I was just basically taking straight into medical tent to look at it, to work out what I'd actually done to my leg, because I really couldn't weight bear on it. It was just really, really sore. So they were like, "That's not good. What I want you to do is go and get cold on it. You need to get ice on it or something. So get yourself changed, get ready, and get down to the river, because that's the only place where there was anything." So one of the marshals came with me, because I'm like, "How do you expect me to get down to a riverbank? I can hardly walk." So he kind of with me to help me kind of down the banking bit, and then they basically had to stand in the middle of the river for about 20 minutes. And there's wee fish swimming around. Remember those like pedicure things you used to get in the supermarket with all the wee fish? It's like that. They were all coming and eating my feet. Really quite annoying, a bit like off-putting. But I got a free pedicure, like fishy one. Did that. Then it was a very hobble all the way back. I couldn't put my foot flat. I had to quite literally just bat my left foot on my toe and kind of hobble my way back up. And then I was basically told, "Go back to the medics at 7 because Morag's on and she knows lots about this." So I couldn't even put my socks on. I had to get someone to put my socks on because I couldn't bend my foot like up or down, or just couldn't bend it. So I'm back and saw Morag, and they were going, they thought it was some technical words in this as well. I wrote this one down. Well, I had to get them to write it down for me. It was a potential tibial bone stress reaction, which they said could lead to a stress fracture. They couldn't quite work out because it was so specific on the bone. They weren't sure. But at that point, they're like, "It's not looking good for you." So basically, they're like, "You can come." They're like, "You're not allowed to leave tomorrow. You're not allowed to go out of camp without seeing us first. You're not allowed to race until you see the medics and get sign off." But at that point, I think she was just like, "You're not going to be able to." And I was like, "Right, okay." So yeah, let's just say she's very good at giving cuddles and hugs. At that point, when I was like, "Right, that's it. We know that's game over." I could have gone down to the Explorer. So for those that don't know, the Explorer is basically half days. So what they'll do is they'll work out where you can either start at the beginning and run to a point where they'll pick you up, or they'll drop you off at that point and then you can run to the end. So there's like two distances you can do. I've also usually see they seem to go on real day trips and get a nice cup of tea somewhere. They find a cafe. It should look quite good. I was like, right, Explorer the next day is 10k. Maybe I could do that if I opted for the short one. But I was like, well, day 6 is 35k. I'm like, I can't do that. There's no point. I just can't. So there's no point going to the Explorer to try and put myself through more pain. So it's different. If it was day 7 and I only had day 8 to go, I probably could have hobbled, somehow dragged myself to that finish line. But it was like, there's no way I can do it. This is just the back of day 4. And that's when, as I say, they kind of made the decision of you cannot run. So it was basically game over at that point. So I only dropped down to 6th position as I pulled out at that point. But I was like, yeah, that's it. Game over. Yeah, it wasn't the best.
Well, they say not all heroes wear capes. Do you remember the name of the mystery runner that helped you down to
I think her name was Heather. Yeah, she was lovely. I've spoken to her before and she just chatted to me all the way down. Kept me going, kept my spirits up.
Oh, well done, Heather.
Yes, I was like, on you go. She's like, no. And she's like, no. This is really bad. I have just had a text message in. And Nikki's going to laugh at this. And I've wanted to do the Glen Rosa horseshoe race in Arran. I was on the waiting list. It's in a few weeks' time. I've just had the invitation to enter it. I better speak to the physio first.
Yeah, you better.
No, but Heather was absolutely, she was lovely. She kept me going. I say everyone in camp, they were amazing. I remember having to phone home and don't actually think if it even made sense to husbands otherwise than, I think all I just said was game over. And that's what I think I said to a few folk, was like, that's it, game over. And then, yeah, lots of people gave me hugs. And they're like, just seeing me hobbling around in camp was really, yeah, they were lovely. And then that was it. They're like, well, basically they send you home.
Yeah. It was at this end, I don't know about the rest of the group. As I said in the introduction, you're on the Epic Trails group and I'm in the WhatsApp chat for that, and you messaged us. And it was like, from first to that, it was kind of, for me, it was quite disbelief. It was like, what's happened? And obviously you explained everything, as you've not in as much detail as you've just done there, which thank you for sharing. At what state, like you said, you shed quite a few tears as you were coming down. Was that down to the pain, or was it mentally because you knew you were coming first? And then, like, can you remember?
It wasn't due to the placings, because I didn't expect to be first, and so much can happen in that race.
Mm-hmm.
It was purely down to, I think, the frustration of this cannot be happening again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think that was it, because I've been through so many like things that have gone wrong. Like when, I'm not going to discuss this, but like when I had my accident and both my wrists got broken, I'm like, I can't be doing this again. I can't face going through all of the treatments that I had to fix everything. I think it was just everything like that, going, what does this actually mean? I think that was more than yeah, races happen, but I'm like, it's more going, not an injury, I can't cope with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the wrist took so long to fix and they're never going to be right. It was more that side than anything else, and it was actually bloody sore at the same time.
Like the fear of the potential recovery rehab that you're going to have ahead of you, that's like, right, okay, the race is happening, but how's this going to affect the immediate future?
It was that more than anything else. I'm like, a race is a race, you can come, they can go, but I'm like, if I have to go back to the times when, for those that don't know, I got wiped off my bike a few years ago by a car and got bilateral wrist fractures. I've ended up by the end of that week with both wrists being operated on. I've had 3 operations on my left wrist. It's never going to be the same. So just like that, having to go through all of that, then going, it's not as bad as that, but going, if this is, say, like a stress fracture, what does that mean? That's going to be 12 weeks. I can't run. What can I do? What's the impact of everything I do? And just the thought of having to go through that, I think that was probably more where the tears were coming from.
Yeah. And how were your campmates when they realised you were injured? Because you're 4 days in, you've formed all these relationships and friendships with people. How was everyone? Was that more emotional, telling them as well?
Yeah, I met hugs I got from them, and I think they were more just gutted that, you know, you got to know the people, and then they're like, I think Emma was like, no, you've left, why are you leaving? And a few people like, you've left too soon, I didn't even get to a good chat. So it was those sort of things where I didn't really get to speak to as many people. I think a lot were just like, we're just sorry to see you go. But they were all lovely. Everyone was lovely in camp. I think just seeing me hobbling, not looking very happy.
What happened to your location? Do you get shipped back to the start? Does somebody come and get you? Do you get put up day by day, or what happens?
No, so basically they're like, right, see you later. Not quite like that. I do have to say, Shane was lovely. Shane, who runs our events, because he came that night before I left and had a good long chat with me. I think they all said, you know, it's the right decision that's been made. I'm like, I know it is, it's just gutting. So what they did was basically, there's a train coming at 7:02 at Altona, whatchamacallit. I should know this, I work in the railway. It was a lovely little station in the Scottish Highlands. So basically, you're putting you on the train. So I had my train booked for a couple of days, for the Monday, not the day was that, the Thursday. So I think that was a Thursday. So what I did, luckily, was quickly get online, got my train ticket booked. Now, I've never used passenger assist in my life for the railway. The trains never had to. But I was actually amazed. And again, working through the railway, you know of these things, you know people use them. You also hear like maybe they don't work as well as they do. But I say it was amazing. I went online to go, how do I book this? Because the bag, you're basically dropped off with your big 20 kilo bag. I think it would be different if it was actually like broken in pieces. That would be different. So I was like, right, I'm getting dropped to the station at 7:02. Went online. It must have been 1 o'clock in the morning. I saw you can't really you can book it online or you can phone up, but they don't action it until 7 a.m. because obviously they're shut from like 10 till 7. So I was like, well, I'm probably not going to get any assistance in the first train. That's all cool. So I got the train from Altna something to, where did I go to? Inverness. Yes, Inverness. And then I had got the train from Inverness to Stirling. Then I changed to Stirling and went to Croy because it was easier for me to do that and get picked up there than the thought of going to Queen Street and then having to go from high level to low levels and trains out. I did it that way. So I had 3 trains to get, and I put all of my details in, even including, ended up getting one earlier. I was absolutely shocked. The guy got off the train at 7:02. Right, reaching to hand. He was ready for me. So he was absolutely amazing. Got my bag on, sat me down. Really good chat with him. When I got to Inverness, he was like, the other guy was ready. They told him which carriage I was in. So he got me out, got my bag. And I was like, well, we had 10 minutes to possibly get the next train down the road. So he got me through the queue, got me right into a carriage. I was like, I'm on a train that's now an hour earlier. He's like, don't worry, I'll get them told. So he then told the next lot. So I got to Stirling, another nice chap. A good long chat with him. He was lovely. Again, brilliant member of staff, got me over, got me sorted. I had about 15 minutes to wait. So he then came back before the train, got me on that one. And then just before I got to Croy, the ticket examiners came through, the conductors, and then they're like, I've heard all about you. It's like, great. So this story's obviously travelled through the train of why I need help. Again, they got me off, and the member of staff at Croy helped get my bag to the car as well. So I do have to say, the staff from ScotRail were absolutely fantastic, helping me all the way back down with my bag and getting me on and off the trains. So yeah, that was how I got home. Back home by about 1:30.
That's a great advert for ScotRail then. Was it ScotRail that had the passenger assist?
Yeah, ScotRail do the passenger assist. And I'm saying I've never used it. And it worked absolutely perfectly for me, going through all these different trains and getting me shifted and being so last minute. It actually worked really well.
So you get home, and what happens there? Are you straight to the doctor, or?
Well, I thought I better have a shower first because I don't think they really wanted the stinking runner. Not in the shower. So
I'm sure they've smelt worse.
So the train guys were probably wanting you in and out as quick as possible because of the smell.
Yeah, and I had my shoe off because my foot, to put my foot up. I'm like, we're not allowed shoes in the seats. So I put my shoes off. I'm like, well, no one sat next to me. It was great. I got a seat to myself. And the girl came up and down with the trolley twice. So I got 2 cups of tea. I was very happy. Yeah, I got my shower, got food, and then I went down to the Royal. So got x-rayed. Because obviously we're anticipating possible stress fracture. It was x-rayed. As you know, with stress fractures, it can be very hard to tell on an x-ray whether or not it is one or not. There was a possibility it might, but we didn't know. So then they made the request for an MRI scan. The good thing was they got a cancellation. So that was a Thursday, and I got Saturday morning cancellation for an MRI scan. So up to Stop Hill for that one. And feedback I've had, still waiting for the final report to come through, is that it doesn't look like a stress fracture, which I was like, thank goodness for that. Been to the physio and everything like that. And so we're thinking it is, I could say, basically my tibia anterior is angry. It's all around the tibia, the tendon, and there's lots of fluid in it and alters signals to the muscle. So basically the tendons and the muscles aren't very happy with me. Mm-hmm. If you touch my leg, front of my leg, it ain't happy with me either. And it was just like, do not touch it. So yeah, been to the physio and it's taped up, and we're going, actually, possibly we can get back to running very soon.
See, with that though, like, is that just really, really bad luck that that's happened? Because you do a lot of stretching and strength and conditioning, you know, you're really on it with things like that. So it's not, I don't think it would be anything you could have done like more that way.
No, we couldn't work it out because we were like going, well, we've done the distance training. I do the elevation. I just saying I love the gym. I'm always finding the gym because I do love lifting big, heavy things. It might be wee, but I can lift big things. And then I do my stretching, and I'm stretching and doing yoga probably 4 times a week. Now, when I say yoga, I have to say it's about 15, 20-minute YouTube video that I do. Friend and I did it a couple of years ago. We got in a challenge in January to do yoga every day, and we kept it up. Yoga with Mark, he's really good. He does the Glasgow Tri Club. And then I found another one now that I'm also following. And just every day or every second day, I'll just do a wee 20-minute yoga in front of the TV in the evening. I'm still totally inflexible, but I think it's definitely paying off with the injuries. I've not really had any until this, but I say definitely I'm a lot better than I would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So they think it's possibly with the ups and then the downs, but more the terrain, because the ground was so dry, so you're not even getting any given the ground because everything was hard. And then because it was so, I suppose, rocky, uneven, there was nothing, their legs were really having to work a lot more just because of the terrain that was just so rough that possibly that could have done it. And just with the ups and the downs, don't know, but that's the only thing we're thinking it could have been. But I think it is just luck or unluckiness that caused it.
And now it's just that, I say just, but it is the gradual build back up now.
Yeah, that's it. So it's like today I've been on my feet quite a bit because I was doing the trail race. But I started off just not doing anything. Then I started off swimming, but just with the pool boys, I wasn't even using it. I think the cold water actually in the pool helped. Then onto my turbo, and then I went out on the bike yesterday. But again, I'm keeping the elevation down as much as I can, just so I'm not having to work it too much, but just keeping the legs turning. The aim is hopefully I'll have the final report back from the MRI early this week, and then I can do the guided run on Thursday. So it's 6K, very easy. So we'll test that, see how it feels, and that'll give me a bit of an indication with how it's doing. Because one thing is, I'm like, I don't want to make it worse. I'm like, I prefer to be able to run, just maybe not as much, than being absolutely broken for a long time.
Since you're not 100% sure what caused it, what are you going to do to stop it happening again?
Maybe don't run 200 kilometers in 4 days. I think maybe that's just, it might just have been that amount of actual, just so much that I've done, whereas it seems that the multi-day events do work. I'm quite good at them, maybe not past 4 days. I have to practice that one. So I think it's just sticking just now to back down to kind of more the one-day events and ultras, and then slowly look to go, right, for next time, what am I going to do? I don't know what I can do. But maybe just working with a physio to go, what else could we possibly do? Or if I start to feel it coming on, what can I do? As I say, with this, it just started at 18K and that was it. I didn't get any warning that it was coming. It wasn't like the night before. I'm like, oh, I've got wee niggles. It was nothing. That was just it.
So does that answer the question I haven't asked yet? Are you going to do it again?
I don't know. I was very much, I am not doing that again. I am not doing that again. Why would I do that again? I just want to do the lighthouse. I might just go and run to the lighthouse from that wee beach. But then I'm like, that way, it's like everything. You forget that horribleness of those 4 days. And then the entries have opened again. I know I've not signed up. But then I'm like, thought of running those 4 days and doing that first 200 kilometers again is a bit off-putting. So,
do you want to go up and
I can go? So I'm not sure.
Would you go up and do just the last bit that you haven't done?
I'd be tempted to work out how it could be done, because I think it would have to be done as in like self-supported.
Yeah.
It's not that you can really have, it's not like the West Highland Way where you can do bits and you've got baggage transfer guys that'll move your bags nicely to places. I think it would be very much going, how do we run each day carrying your own stuff?
You get the train up to Alton-le-Breg, I think is the station that you got, and then just do the whole lot at once. You don't need to stop overnight.
Keep going for two. I suppose I could do it as a spine warm up, and I'm not doing that either. But people said to me, just do this. No.
So thank you for sharing all of that, because it was really, really interesting. And it's really good to have someone that's done, such a big event. Even the 4 days is massive.
Yeah, it was a big event. And I'd say to people that are thinking about it, the good thing is there is the Challenger, or sorry, the Explorer option. So you can drop down. Well, there's the Challengers. So they do actually Cape Wrath 100. So that's 100 miles. You can do the first 3 days and stop. I stopped after day 3 and I got a medal. Don't even get a medal. I finished on day 4. I was like, not a medal. So that's a really good one. If you want to get into multi-days, actually I'd say go try the first 3 days. Really, really good. You get to experience the camp life, do those parts. Then there, as I say, is the Explorer, and it's up to you how you want to do that. You do the full 8 days, but it's up to you. You might want to do the full day one day, about half a day the next day. It's a good way you can mix and match and just enjoy it and see how you're feeling. So that's another good way to try it as well.
All right, moving on to something else, or maybe that is the Cape Wrath is your answer. What's the biggest achievement that you've had in your sporting, not just running career?
Oh, sporting, that's slightly harder. Oh.
Well, you can start with running.
Well, no, Cape Wrath's not, because that's a DNF. I think probably just, does it have to be an event?
No. Just
I think
what
actually,
you're
to
most
me,
proud of.
I think it's actually epic trails. So for me, I think it was all about epic trails. I started doing guided trail runs before COVID. So I did them for a company called Trailfest. And I always did the Mulgai ones. So I just turned up. I was given a list of people who were coming and I took them for a nice wee guided run. Yeah, it was great. COVID came and it became just, I suppose, the natural time for Trailfest to finish. They made the decision. But I was then getting messages from people going, are you still going to do the runs? Are you doing the runs? What's happening with the runs? Are you still doing them? And I was like, oh, I'm still here. It's not like I've gone anywhere. I still live in Mulgai. I can still run the runs. Right, I suppose I better look at this. So I was like, right, okay, I can do this myself. Don't know how. I'll work out that logistics later. And I'm not the techie person. But at the same time, I was like, right, people are asking me for running routes with COVID because everyone could only get out locally. So I spent a lot of my time. I loved COVID. Well, not COVID itself, but I loved the time you got to explore your local hills. I found so many trails. I had so much fun up the Kilpatricks and the Campsies exploring. And I just started posting on Facebook all of my trips of that, where I've been, pictures of them, the routes, just trying to say to people, look, if you're stuck, just get out and do something. Here's local places you can go and explore. And then when we were allowed to start socialising and going out together, I was like, right, I'll put guided runs on. I did the first year for free. So everyone just turned up and I'll just take people out, just to get people back out running in a group, showing them more things round about. And then eventually kind of was like, right, no, I better start charging here actually for this. Not a huge amount. It's a full £3.50 that they pay. And everything goes back to charity. So every little penny I make goes, well, I don't make it, it's not for profit. It goes back out to something that's kind of worthwhile or something that like the runners have got experience in. So a lot have gone to Mountain Rescue. We raise money and we install the defibrillator out at St Mocha, things like that we do. And then the group sort of came together. We've still, loads of people can come. So like still every Thursday I'll do, first one of the month's a 6K, then it basically goes 8K, 10K, just varies until we get to the end of the month. But the group came together and we've got some that have been there from the start. And over time they've progressed from going, you're a crazy nutter to me, from the things I do, to started doing half marathons to marathons. And now some of them are doing ultra marathons and the West Highland Way and things like that. So I think it's more, I'm just proud of actually bringing the group together of people who just want to run trails and maybe don't have that connection. And these people would never have come together. Their paths wouldn't naturally cross through like work or anything like that, or friendships. And they're a great bunch. You know, they have such a laugh. The amount of trips that they do themselves without me, they're away ranging things. I'm like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to create a community where they can go and do all these things together in themselves and give them the confidence to do it. So I think that's probably what I'm most proud of.
You also
How-
had a lot of people doing one of the events yesterday, didn't you? What one was that they were doing?
Rathel. So it's the ones that I think it's outside your events run. So yeah, we've got a couple that go and volunteer at it. Some of them did I think it's up and down. So that's up one Monroe and back down. So for some of them, that was the longest they'd ever run. And for one of them, it was actually also their first Monroe that they ran up and down. Well, no, they didn't. I think they walked. The usual, make sure you walk ups and eat at the same time. So they're fantastic. And then a couple of them went on and did the full, this double Monroe, I think it's about 60k. So a couple of them went and did that one as well as the longest runs they've done. So yeah, it's amazing.
How would somebody find out more about Epic Trails?
The easy thing if you want to find out what events are on is actually just go on to Entry Central and just put in Epic Trails, one word. And what I do is it gets towards the end of a month, I'll put next month's on. And I just put them all up there so you can see what's on and just sign up there. Or they can find me on Instagram or Facebook as well if people want to drop me a message. And there's also, I do have a website as well, where it's actually quite good. It's where you can find lots of, like, if you want to know about races, like maybe ones I've done or routes I've done, I'll do write-ups as well of this is actually what it was like from my perspective, or if I've got any routes as well. And that's basically just www.epictrailsrunning.co.uk. And again, that's got the links as well to things.
And there's a lot of great routes on it.
Yeah, if the routes that I do that seem to be quite nice, I'll put them up. Sometimes I've got descriptions. Sometimes you might find I've gone and run a race where really the description is I ran up a hill, couldn't see anything, I've run back down. I'd recommend it. But here's some pictures if I really don't have a clue what I want. But I'll try kind of give, I'd say, honest feedback as well about routes and races, about what I actually thought of them.
So the next question that we've got is, why do you run?
It's my escape. I think it's always been like that. I remember back at uni, they would see me frustrated and they're like, you need to just go out, just get out there. And I think it's that release. It's just, I need to do something. If it isn't like running, then as I say, I would go on the bike, or I used to just go play tennis, hit a ball against the wall. It's my me time, it's my release. It's just gives me time to think. Must have an awful lot to think about, because since I do like running for hours and hours and hours, but it's a great, clear head, especially if I've had a bad morning at work or something, just lunchtime, just get out and just run, come back in, and I'm a much happier person.
Do you remember what you think about?
Sometimes not, I've got a clue. Well, I've tried to put the world to rights. That's always tried to sort that out. But I can go and put a podcast on to listen to it. And I've had it on playing the whole time, but I've not actually listened to it because I've been thinking whatever randomness in my head, or then I'll be thinking about something, or joining in with a podcast, talking to a sheep, talking to the mud, swearing at it. It could be anything, but I think it's my me time to get out.
And divergent, not on the question list. You said that you talked to the sheep.
Yeah.
Tell us about Frank.
What got Frank here anymore? Frank, right, all my runners know I've got a thing. Every time I find a sheep skull, I'll usually pick it up and I'll do a bit of, I think it's a Hamlet, maybe, whichever one it was. I'm not Shakespeare. And do that. They're always like laughing at me for these sheep skulls. And I've always said I wanted to find a sheep skull with proper horns. And one day I was out running with Westies. We're running up the Campsies, coming down to Dumfoyne, and there was a good sheep. I feel really sorry for the sheep. It was, unfortunately, it had passed. It was passed a long time ago, but it had a good set of horns on it. And I was like, I've got to remember where this sheep is. I need to come back for these sheep horns. So luckily I've got another friend. Oh no, it's the same one. It's Mary. Mary, who likes to give me camping stuff, who knows the silly things that I got up to. Mary, how about a wee run on a Friday night up to bring back a sheep skull with the big horns on it? So yeah, we did actually one Friday night take a wee run back up all the way up to where we found Frank. So we got Frank, put Frank in Frank is just the head. It's not full sheep. I did not bring that home. Just the head. Whoever knows, Nikki and Mike have seen the size of Frank. He is good. He is big. So put him in a bin bag And then I had to run back along the pipe track to the car with Frank. And I'm like, this shoulder over this shoulder like this. I'm like, people are going to think of what I've got in this bag. Mary has nicely tidied out, cleaned Frank up for me. I've now got him ready to hang. The kids and husband have said he is not allowed in this house anywhere. He's going to his office. The dog loves him and just wants to lick his horns every time he appears out. So that is Frank the sheep. So there is a run in Strava called, I think, the Pipe Track and Frank that I have. He is called Frank.
I think what we'll need to do is we'll need to get a picture of you holding Frank, and we can stick it onto the Instagram post that we'll put on for the podcast for your episode.
I think so.
Oh man, I'm going to get Frank out now, aren't I? Yes. Yeah, for anyone that can see online, I'm not sure, that's Frank hanging up. Yeah, this is only for the YouTube viewers. For those online, it's just a picture of Frank that I got him hanging up. Frank looks good.
I don't think that gives us justice, because
no, it doesn't.
We saw the picture and he take up the whole screen.
Yeah.
You definitely need a picture of holding him 100% to get us scared, because I was surprised at the size of it tonight when you brought it out of the box.
Okay, I'll get Frank later. I'll get a selfie.
Definitely. So in the immediate future, you're doing your recovery, things like that. Have you got any, aside from Epic Trails that you run weekly, have you got anything else coming up? Projects, events, anything in the near?
You mean the one I've not just said through to asking me if I want to enter it or not? We've got Tyree in September. So last time I did Tyree Ultra was the year where it got the full month's rain that day, where the campsite got flooded out. I've never gone through so much waterproof things. It was very wet. But a whole load of the Epic Trails crew have decided to also go up. So they've got a cottage. So basically we're going up for a party. So it's going to be a run and a really good, I think, weekend, really, more than anything. So that's the main one. On purpose, I didn't book anything in for after Cape Wrath because I didn't know how I was going to be. There are a lot of hill races coming up. So I'm just going to, the good thing with hill races is you don't have to enter them months and months and months in advance. A lot of them are, you can sign up on the night or the week before. I'll be able to get a place. So it's just really just going to be see how it goes and then just see what I'm going to enter that way. So no, nothing big. Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, Tidy September, so plenty of time to recover for that, and then just take my time and see what takes my fancy, really.
And you jokingly mentioned Spain. We don't actually know if that actually was a joke. Is that one on your bucket list, or?
Someone also mentioned Northern Traverse to me, and then I looked at that. I went, no. But there is 100k in the Northern, the first part. Is it the lake? Yeah. So I was like, that looks okay. Yes. These ones doing like just continuing without sleeping. No, not happening. On the West Highland Way, when I did that, I actually did the sleep in Kinloch leaving because I just wasn't with it. So no, I do need my sleep. So those very long ones are definitely out the game. But yeah, maybe more I might look at other multi-days.
So is there anybody that you would, other than Frank, of course, that you would love to run with?
I think someone I would have loved to have run with is John Kinnison. So John, I remember listening to John in the early years of me getting into trail running when he did Run to the Hills, watching his YouTubes, and John's such a big inspiration to those in the trail running community, and especially those round about the West Highland Way. And I think it's John. He still plays such a big part in everything that we do. You know, every time you run over John's bridge in the West Highland Way, he was such an amazing guy. I think it's one of those people that has gone far too soon, but I would love to have run with John.
I had the pleasure many times, so you missed out, I'm afraid to say.
Yes, yeah, that's the one person. Maybe one day, eventually, but not just now.
So usually the final question that we ask is, what's your plans for the rest of the year? But you've actually covered it. So we've got Tyree coming up, which will be really, really good. That sounds like it's going to be a great weekend for you.
Yeah, even if it's not the running, just having kind of the group of us all together. If people haven't done Tyree, it is really good. There's a Kaylee afterwards as well. Although last time I did it, I didn't do much dancing, and I had to cycle back to the campsite at night. Don't put a head torch on your head when trying to cycle a bike, because every time you look, the light moves off the road. What's happening now? But yeah, it's just going to be a good weekend with added running and friends and things. So that's the main one.
Well, I think that draws us to a close. It's all from me, unless Nikki's got anything.
Nope,
No. Well,
everything.
Just to say thank you, Nikki, for being Nikki. Thank you, other Nikki, for being Nicola Dawson on a Sunday. And it's goodbye from me.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.